The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with anticipation as Commander Vexthor of the Zephyrian Empire rose from his crystalline seat. His four eyes gleamed with barely concealed greed as he addressed the assembly of alien dignitaries. Esteemed council members, Vexthor began, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into coherent speech. I propose we initiate Protocol 7 against the planet designated as Earth. These humans have expanded beyond their solar system. They represent a potential threat to our established order. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The humans had been monitored for decades, and their rapid technological advancement had made many species nervous. From the shadows of the upper gallery, Ambassador Krill 9 stood abruptly. The elderly Arcanian's scales had dulled with age, but his voice carried the weight of centuries of experience. I must object strenuously to this proposal. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Ambassador, your species has grown soft. The humans are primitive, scattered across merely 15 star systems. They pose no real challenge. That is precisely why you should fear them, Krill 9 said, his voice grave. I have studied humanity extensively. I have walked among them. I have observed their nature. Commander, you do not understand what you are proposing to attack. Several council members laughed, the sound creating a discordant symphony of alien vocalizations. Please, enlighten us, Vexthor said mockingly. What makes these apes so special? Krill 9 pulled up a holographic display. Let me tell you about two humans I encountered during my time observing their colony on Kepler 442b. Autumn Chun had been working the mining operation on Kepler 442b for 3 years when the accident happened. The atmospheric processor had malfunctioned, creating a toxic cloud that swept through Section 7. Most workers had evacuated, but sensors showed 2 life signs trapped in the lower levels. Command, this is Chun. Autumn spoke into her comm unit, already suiting up. I'm going in. Negative, Chun. The structure could collapse at any moment. We've already lost the section. Autumn checked her oxygen supply and grabbed an extra tank. There are people down there. She didn't wait for a response. The corridor was a nightmare of twisted metal and toxic fog. Autumn's suit sensors screamed warnings as she descended deeper into the facility. She found them in a sealed maintenance room. A young boy named Colton, barely 19, and an injured Quarian worker named Zix. I can't carry you both, Autumn said, assessing the situation. The Quarian outweighed her by at least 100 pounds, and Colton had a broken leg. Leave me, Zix gurgled through his respirator. Save the young one. Autumn looked at them both, then at the cracking ceiling above. She had maybe 10 minutes before the entire section came down. She pulled out her plasma cutter. I'm not leaving anyone, she said firmly. What happened next would become legend among the colony. Autumn cut through the floor panels, creating a makeshift sled. She used emergency foam to seal Colton's leg and rigged a pulley system using mining cables and her suit's power winch. It shouldn't have worked. The physics were borderline impossible, the timeline too tight. But Autumn didn't know the meaning of impossible. She pulled them both through 300 meters of collapsing tunnel, her suit's power reserves hitting zero with 50 meters to go. She disconnected the power system and pulled manually, her muscles screaming, her oxygen down to the final reserves. They emerged with seconds to spare, Autumn collapsing just beyond the safety line as Section 7 imploded behind them. A rescue story, Vexthor interrupted. This proves nothing except foolish sentiment. I'm not finished, Krill 9 replied coldly. Let me tell you what happened next. 6 months later, the Zelkan pirates arrived at Kepler 442b. They were a notorious band of raiders, 50 ships strong, known for taking entire colonies hostage for ransom. The human colony had a small defensive fleet, 6 patrol ships, hardly a deterrent. Colton had recovered from his injury and was working in the communications center when the pirates' demands came through. The colony had 72 hours to surrender all valuable resources or face orbital bombardment. Autumn was off-world, transporting supplies to Earth. The colony administrator began preparing for evacuation, but Colton had other ideas. He had spent his recovery studying everything he could about the mining operation, about the colony's systems, about orbital mechanics and defensive strategies. He was just a communications technician, barely 20 years old. With no military training, he called together the 6 patrol ship pilots, and 18 miners who had some flight experience. They think we're helpless, Colton said, pulling up a tactical display. They're wrong. His plan was insane. The patrol ships would act as bait, drawing the pirates into a specific orbital pattern. Meanwhile, the mining ships, massive, slow haulers never meant for combat, would use the planet's gravity well and their industrial equipment in ways that violated every safety protocol ever written. The colony administrator refused to authorize it. Colton did it anyway. When Autumn's transport ship dropped out of FTL and received the distress signal, she expected to find ruins. Instead, she found debris, pirate debris. 37 pirate ships destroyed, the rest fleeing in panic. Colton's mining haulers had used their refinement lasers, their magnetic tethers, and the sheer mass of their vessels in a coordinated assault that turned the pirates' numerical advantage into a death trap. The patrol ships had suffered damage, but not a single colony ship was lost. The kid who couldn't have designed a better defense if he'd been a trained admiral had just won a battle against overwhelming odds. Krill 9's hologram showed the aftermath of the battle. The council chamber had grown quiet. "Do you understand now?" Krill 9 asked. "Humans don't surrender when the odds are impossible. They don't abandon their own. They don't accept defeat. When you corner them, when you threaten what they love, they don't just fight back. They innovate. They improvise. They achieve the impossible through sheer stubborn refusal to accept reality's limitations. They are individually weak," Vexthor protested, but his voice had lost its certainty. "Individually, perhaps," Krill 9 agreed, "but they are never truly individual." Autumn risked everything for strangers. Colton fought a fleet with mining equipment because it was the right thing to do. And every human I've met shares this same dangerous quality. They believe in impossible causes, and they make the impossible happen through willpower alone. Krill 9's scales darkened, a sign of deep concern among his species. "You want to invade their home world? You'll be invading a planet of 8 billion Autumns and Coltons. 8 billion beings who will turn every tool into a weapon, every setback into motivation, every loss into fury." The chamber remained silent. "I vote against this invasion," Krill 9 said. "And I warn you all, if you proceed, you won't be fighting soldiers. You'll be fighting an idea, a philosophy that refuses to die. You'll be fighting hope itself." The vote was called. Despite Krill 9's warnings, the council voted to proceed with the invasion. That was their first mistake. It would also be their last.